All right. Welcome to BoomCast. I'm your host, Sam, with 76 Pro Line. And today we are talking, I've got a couple of special guests here. Dan Haines, you guys know him from Astro Magic FX. He does a lot of our pyro. But we have a very special guest here, Tom BetGeorge, very wildly known as having these incredible Christmas light shows by Magic Light Shows, and these things go viral every single season, every holiday season. They're incredible. You also, have this Magical Light Shows company where you sell these packages for folks to do their own light shows at home. These things are amazing, and we're so thrilled to have you on and to have partnered with you. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate it.
So I was looking through your videos. I saw that you have you started putting them out in 2013, maybe. Those looked phenomenal in 2013. So I'm sure you started way back before that. When did you actually start doing shows and light shows on your house?
Ironically, it was 2013.
That was the first one? No way.
It was funny because I just did it for fun, and my very first video went viral, and then I think we've been viral every year. So that was unintentional. But yeah, it was, I think I had a little help though, because at the time I was a director of a music conservatory. So for me, like programming to music is just what I've done all my life. It's just instead of programming with just musicians, I applied the same programming tools on the lights themselves. So I think I kind of had that little head start. But no, that was actually my first video I've ever done.
That's incredible because it looked so professional. So you said that you have a background in music. Are you still a music teacher?
No, I don't teach music anymore. I think I stopped that. Man, I don't even know what year it was. I would suspect around 2016 or so I stopped teaching it. I still lead music at my church. I'm as a music director, and I still do music on the side, but I don't teach it anymore.
Well, that experience definitely helps because this is such a musically driven display. I wanted to compliment you on like all the shows that you've put out because they're always so unique, so creative. In addition to like the music choices, like you've got this narration that kind of leads the shows along that can be really clever and humorous along with the lighting. So they've been phenomenal. So this year, 2024 Christmas show, you started incorporating, in addition to a fantastic show, you incorporated some fireworks, incorporated some special effects, some flames, some fireballs, right?
What's this big red button do?
No!
Whoa!
Fireworks provided by Spirit of 76, and the flames and the pyro labor provided by Dan at Astro. Kind of tell me what that collaboration process looked like between you guys and how incorporating the fireworks into the show this year.
I can start here. So I ran into Tom a couple years ago at a Christmas Halloween convention. I went to one of his seminars, and because he was doing drone light show stuff, and he did a seminar on drones, and I went to that, and I was working on drone stuff at the time. And after the seminar, I reached out to him and I said, hey, if you ever want to do fireworks, reach out to me. Didn't talk to him for a year or two or something, but then last year he did have some fireworks in his show, and I reached back out to him because I saw the fireworks in the show, and I said, hey, if you ever want to do fireworks again, let me know, because we can do way better and also way more.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of I think that was kind of the bait that got Tom kind of interested a little bit, because he had then reached out for this year. Does that sound about right, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. We get a lot of, to be blunt, like we get a lot of requests every year, and I can't sometimes like really pay attention to who's who. Dan's the real deal, but we get a lot of people who just, this might sound bad, they just try to use us. And that's not Dan at all. Dan was thinking about, I could do something really, really cool. I think we should partner together. We get a lot of people who say messages like that, but they're just trying to take advantage of us. And that wasn't the relationship with Dan at all. Dan really knows his stuff, and he wants to do something cool where like I can do something okay with fireworks, but working with Dan, we can do something really cool with fireworks. And that's what got me interested. Once I realized, what he does and what his background was, I'm like, oh no, you guys are the real deal.
Yeah, all about putting out the most incredible shows and pushing the limit and telling a story in the unique ways. I think this has been like a fantastic collaboration because you guys are both so skilled at what you do, and the show looked phenomenal. I think the fireworks were timed like perfectly with with the lighting, and I loved the flames, the fireballs that you guys added in. Tell me about what the scripting process looked like and how long it took to plan this whole thing. In addition to, like, did you do the lights first and then add pyro? Was it all kind of the same in the same process? How did that go?
I mean, I know for the lighting, we start at the very beginning of the year, and some of this was actually before the beginning of the year. Like, I know one of the sequences that we did this year was Satisfaction. That I actually started in November or December of the previous year. So that was been going all year long. And then we had stuff that we were like, I mean, we were fine tuning some stuff up to like 2 minutes before filming. We're like, you know what? We don't like that. We don't like that. We're just modifying it. We were modifying firework timings. Like, it was all year long. But I would say the gist of the lighting programming happened prior. And then once we started working with Dan, we started actually removing some of the lighting programming. That way to leave space for the fireworks, leave space for the flames. Dan had a great vision from the very beginning. I was sending him music and I'm like, hey, here's what we're doing. And then as we got farther in the lighting, I sent him video visualizations of where we were. And that way we can kind of like work, in conjunction, because, with the way that we do lighting is every single time there's a harmonic change in the music, that's when we change colors. And then we like showed Dan what we were working on. Dan was able to work with that. But then also some fireworks, there's not every firework color in the world, and not all colors in fireworks are equal. And then we kind of went back and forth, and we modified some of our coloring in the lighting. And that way we can complement what would look good with fireworks. And then based on what we could do with timing, so for example, what happens when you have a color change in the lights, but the fireworks still going, right? We had to make some, I'm not sure if compromise is the right word, but just some modifications so that we can still be true to the music, but also be able to peak properly with the fireworks. So yeah, it was a lot of back and forth. And then Dan came fairly early in a good way on site. So we were able to make a lot of changes here. But by the time he got here, we had to know what fireworks we were using, right? So like we knew the timing could change, but what we were using couldn't change. So that was fun. Dan was really great about, man, I mean, like you were getting stuff done not at the last second. That implies like we're waiting, but it was more like you were just super, super flexible up to the point where like, okay, I'm going to go pick up the fireworks today.
This is sort of an interesting thing about it, like the Christmas light show and like the fireworks show. Like we both do things like it's totally different mediums, but we're both like so similar minded. Like we pretty much, even on the fireworks, we use all the time we have available, like to make it the best show we can, So same thing with the fireworks, we used all the time we had up until like, okay, got to get the fireworks from the warehouse, get everything labeled, pulled on the road. And then same thing with the show once we're on site. Okay, we can adjust the timing, we can do some tests. We tested some things, make sure all the timing's good. And then one thing I've never done on a fireworks show is spend like, I don't know, 5 hours, like just minutely adjusting the timing to be ultra precise with the LED lights. Because because it's, with fireworks, a few milliseconds, whatever, it's a much difference, right? But the lighting is like an order of magnitude more precise than fireworks. And so we basically did everything we could to make the fireworks as precise as the lighting. And I think we achieved that. We, did things like accounting for the height of the house so that when the firework comes up above the house, that was something Tom had mentioned from the very beginning. We have to make this timing so precise, like as soon as it comes above the house, like that's the point, not before, not after. So that was really cool.
Yeah, that's what makes it interesting too, is because depending on which camera angle we're using, it kind of messes with that, right? So if we have a drone and you can see the ignition of the firework versus we have our camera on the ground and we had to compensate, like as Dan said, for the time that it took from the moment that, it ignited, or at least the signal was sent there, by the time that firework cleared the house. We took some extra fireworks and we recorded on video how long it took, and then we watched the video and counted the milliseconds, and then we backed up those kinds of fireworks by the mountain. And wasn't for all really fireworks too, obviously too, right? I mean, we have a shell. It had nothing to do with the timing from clearing the house. It had to do with just where the shell would actually ignite.
When we say we're working up to the very last minute, it's not procrastination, pyrocrastination. It's perfecting it until and making those tiny little adjustments until you absolutely have to say, okay, we're just going to do it. We're going to record it. It's go time. Wow.
Yeah, I think we had moments where we purposely broke our own rules. Like, so for example, in Star Wars, whenever they did a Death Star scene, the lasers always like had a charge and then that charge would hit, let's say, a planet, and then it would take like, another second before you would see the planet blow up or so. But we did it that way at first, and then we decided to see what would happen if the moment the laser hit the charge would blow up.
It's a space station. I have a very bad feeling about this.
And I think it just looked cooler when we did it that way. So
Agreed.
thankfully, Dan brought some extras, and we were able to modify what we thought we would want to what ended up being the coolest. Or actually, I don't think "cool" was the right word to describe the flames blowing up. It was quite hot. It was fun though. Like, I think both Dan and I learned a lot about just the whole process. I mean, I think if we were to do it again today, we might do it ever so slightly differently. We would do it based on how we ended, but we would probably save a lot of time knowing what works, what doesn't work as well.
Of course, it's going to be an experiment up until.
Certainly.
And Dan, actually, you did a lot of experiments that I think we kept 99% of them, where you were just like, I don't know if this is going to work out, but we ended up loving the overall effects.
Yeah, that's true. Like, so in Jaws, there was some flame pots in front of the house, and what I told Tom was this is sort of experimental. The experimental part is like, I mean, we don't know how much smoke they're going to make. Depends on the wind conditions, if that smoke's going to build up. I was very worried about the smoke from things up front overwhelming the lights or blocking the lights. But the good thing about, the magic of television, right, or YouTube, right, is you're filming, and some of those experimental things, you can try it on the pyro track and it doesn't work. You just don't use that take, right? And so that was kind of playing with that. And then other ones like in Phil Collins,
The photo
flash mine. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that device to make as much smoke as it did. However, it played really well to the song, so that got left in because it was all out in the air, and then you have all this smoke, and it looks like air, and like the lights were all kind of airy as well. There were some happy surprises there, and that's kind of how fireworks go sometimes,
Yeah. And Tom, this is your house, right? This is your house that you guys were doing pyro around. Were you at all concerned? Were you like, my house could blow up? I don't know. We're doing fireballs.
Only a little bit. I mean, I think we started out when we had our fireballs, we started out from a farther distance, and then we kind of worked our way closer. And then we realized it really wasn't. I mean, we even did some experiments that were nothing burgers. Like, we were worried about some of the lights melting from the extreme heat. And actually, it was totally fine. I mean, the fireball, although they look incredible, I mean, obviously, if you were standing there, you would get hurt. But other than that, like, it wasn't causing any damage to the property. We also tilled and rock raked and removed a lot of weeds and just dry grass. Like, the whole week prior, one of our team members, Lewis, was just out there, like, with every minute that he had free, he was actually just removing all the weeds. So we didn't have anything that would actually burn. So in case, I mean, with fireworks, there's always some type of risk, right? But we minimized, weeds on about at least a 300, 400 foot area, which helped. But then, of course, ironically, it ended up raining while we were filming because of one of the bummers is, in the firework permitting process, they wanted the date like, a month out. And we're just like, I guess we'll try it for this date. And of course, it's like the worst weather that we had in like months on that very specific date.
Part of me thought that I was like, maybe these are part of like the lighting effects, that it's got like snow, and I was like, oh, that's actually really cool. And then I was like, in other shots, I'm like, oh no, it's really raining there.
It was storming at one. And actually, you know what? We were really, really lucky because I think one of my biggest concerns was just the cameras getting rained out. Like, if we have, we can't rerun the fireworks show, right? So when we have the drones up in the sky and then we have our cameras on the ground, thankfully, none of the shots were ruined from the rain. We put umbrellas over all the cameras on the ground. And then what I've learned from experience was with the drones is depending on how aggressively I fly and compared to the angle of the rain is if the rain will get on the sensor, right? So if I'm like flying into the rain will get on the sensor. If I'm flying away from the rain, I'll be okay. Or if I'm just kind of staying relatively slow, the propellers will actually keep the rain off the sensor. So we had to be just aggressive enough. We never had a shot get rained out itself, which was fantastic. Through the middle of the night, we kept on recording for just other angles. And we did run out of the ability to record because of fog rolling in, actually. The fog rolled in, and at I don't know what time it was, maybe 4 a.m. on the second night of filming. And at that point, we're like, okay, we're done. There's just nothing we can do because
You can't see anything. I was really impressed with the fact that it was raining in all your camera, and especially the drone footage looked so clear, so clean. That is difficult to achieve.
yeah, and then wind was the bigger issue. We actually kept the fire department hostage until about 11 p.m. before we ran the real show.
That's early.
Yeah. Yeah, our permit said 6 to 8 p.m. And they were really accommodating. I think, honestly, the only reason why they even kind of lightly encouraged us to, to kind of get going was just because I think at a certain hour, the fire department was getting overtime and he wouldn't necessarily have the authorization to have all the firemen there on overtime. I don't think he was worried about himself. He was more worried about just getting in trouble with the county or whoever pays the bills for the firemen. But no, they were super supportive. And technically, we started filming around 11 p.m., right? And I think we finished at about 12:05 a.m. for the main recording. And I remember rushing, like, just go. Because we knew at midnight it was going to become a problem. And we didn't want to. We started our last song probably like 12:01, 12:02 a.m. But I think if we would have went even 5 minutes later, the fire department would have politely said, hey, we got to stop.
We gotta go. So you mentioned permitting. I wanted to pick your brains on this too, because a few days before the shoot, Dan, who had just driven like halfway across the country to be out there, you guys are in California, he texted and was like, I don't know if the show's gonna go. There might be an issue with the permit. What happened there?
Yeah, so I had spent, I think, 2.5 days, almost 3 days on the road to get out there. And as soon as I got out there, I got word from our stand-in license, which is a common practice. Like, I don't have a California license, neither does Tom. And so you hire a stand-in license to handle permitting and whatnot. And we received word from them that there was an issue with the permit and that we weren't going to be able to do it on our scheduled date. And the earliest we could do it would be 1 week later, which was somewhat disastrous because it was right before Thanksgiving. Tom had already flown in all of his team and his crew. I was already out there. I had, another crew member with the flight booked but hadn't left yet. So not ideal, I would say. Not an ideal situation. But luckily, I mean, honestly, Tom sort of saved the show with Tom in collaboration with kind of the local fire department, because once the local fire department found out about it, they kind of worked some behind the scenes magic, right? And made some phone calls and talked to the higher powers. And within a couple hours, I would say, we pretty much had our permit approved. And so that was just, it's a little bit beyond me. I don't know the California that well. That's why you hire locals to handle that. There was a small hiccup where it looked like we weren't going to be able to do the show. And then all of a sudden it was right back on. So after a brief heart attack, we got back to work. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember getting the call, and I mean, I know Dan, being in the business that we are, there's always like stressful moments where you have to kind of think, okay, what's within my control, what's outside of my control, what's within my sphere of influence. So I just prayed. I mean, first of all, as a a leader of my team, I have to what kind of attitude do I need to have in an environment like this? Stay positive and here's what we can do, here's what we can't do. When we talk to our stand-in licensee, they're like, you're dead in the water. And I think that's normally what would be the process. And they were right. They said because of the way that there needs to be, and Dan, you can tell me if I'm wrong on this. In California, they have this process where they have an automated system that contacts neighbors within the area within a certain radius to let them know of what's going to be happening so that way they can properly prepare. In the past, we were able to do all of the permitting at our local fire department, and they're very supportive of what we do. They want cool things to happen in our city. I figured, hey, this is kind of I actually even mentioned it to our stand-in license. I'm like, hey, I'm thinking I can call. They might have some leverage, like, based on the law, like in the permitting process, there's just really nothing you can do. And I did believe them, but I'm like, let me just call anyway.
Yeah.
We have a super supportive local fire department, and they're very not political. And
very good.
And the truth is, it's the local fire department that's really handling the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't trying to be difficult or to be like, but what he did was he explained to the county, it's like, hey, you want to use this process to inform the neighbors. There are no neighbors. There's literally one neighbor within a certain vicinity, and that neighbor is going to be watching. like this wasn't a normal neighborhood where you have houses everywhere, right? So I
Supportive.
think he was able to pull, with his power and abilities, like, hey, like this isn't a good thing, right? I don't know what words were exchanged, but he was able. I mean, thanks, Dan. I didn't really save the day. I mean, really, I was just a vessel, right? To like, I contacted the local guy, and the chief's like, hold on, give me a few minutes, and he just handled it. We're like, it from our perspective, it just felt like a miracle.
They're the heroes of this story, the local fire
Yeah,
department.
because I mean, they're the people who's actually there too, right? They're the people that matter. The Nothing against people in the county level, but people in a cubicle that have no connection to what we're doing versus the actual fire department. That's really the ones that need to be there. And then, like I said, communicating with neighbors that aren't even there. Like it didn't make sense for that to be a holdup. And I don't even know what we'd do honestly in the future about this one because I'm going to talk to our local fire department because in the future what would really help us a lot is having some built-in flexibility. Most fireworks shows, I can say comfortably, are planned on a particular date, and this is the date we're going to do it no matter what. I mean, let's say it's a New Year's fireworks show or a 4th of July fireworks show. You don't postpone till the 5th of July. You don't postpone
Try not
till
to.
New Year's Day. It's going to happen on that date. But in what we're doing is most of our audience is online and we're not stuck on a particular day. If the weather's awful or really, really dangerously windy, for everyone's sake, we'd like to move it 24 hours, 48 hours later, or even possibly earlier. That way it's just safer, right? If it was crazy windy and dry, there's no reason why we have to film on a particular day other than the county saying, hey, this is what your permit is for. So I'm hoping in the future we can find a way within the county to have a window. I know Dan and I and the stand-in licensee talked, and it was like going to cost us what, like an extra $1,000 to $2,000 for every day that we had as a backup date.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm
Yeah,
like,
That's ridiculous.
I think probably with a little bit more time and planning, we can probably get that window approved. I think it was just that the process was kind of set up for a certain way, and we're kind of like trying to do it a different way than the process set up. But now that we have the experience of a show out there too, I think probably in the future we can do that because it is done. I know it's done, maybe not in that county, but in different areas, certainly for filming and things like that.
They should know you by now that you're going to be one-upping yourself every year. And pyro is just one of those things, which actually leads me to say, like, hey, I mean, like you added pyro and flame and fireballs this year. You did fireworks last year. You did drones the previous year. What's next, Tom? How are you one up in
I
2025?
honestly, I think it's easy to one up because for the very beginning, I don't show all my cards in one show
Smart, yes,
because we have to be able to grow, right?
100%.
I think we have a good 2 years of awesome growing still left very clearly. What honestly makes me nervous, and I won't make this too much of our conversation, is I don't even know what's going to happen with AI and creativity soon. I mean, AI is changing the way we do things so fast. I don't want to be like, oh yeah, we have another decade. Like, I don't think so. I think we'll still have, the elements of physicality of it, right? But things are changing pretty fast. But I think for the next year and the year after, we have a lot of ways we can grow. I have about 3 or 4 more cards in the deck that I haven't revealed yet. And then we kind of like plan on it. And if 2 of the cards work this year, great. And then 1 card doesn't work, that's fine. We just don't reveal it just yet.
Right.
I think a lot of actually, probably the biggest obstacle is figuring out, okay, what music is going to naturally call for what we do. Even, yeah, we could have lit twice as many fireworks, but I don't think twice as many fireworks would have made the show even 1% better. It was more about like, here's the music that we're doing, here's the theme that we're following, and the music and the show should naturally call for what we're using. It wasn't just like, I mean, we joked around about lighting up the atmosphere, right? Only in moments where the music actually called for it, but otherwise, like, I do believe less is more, and just being when the music calls for this is what we're going to do. I think part of the challenge is finding something that allows us to grow musically, and it feels like, okay, that was cool, because for example, we did some of my favorite music with John Williams, right? And it's hard to beat out John Williams, who
No.
like has the most memorable music. Like I have a couple songs I think would be really, really cool, but like we have to do it well. But I think knowing what we know now, hopefully being able to get, like Dan says, like a permitting window versus a specific date, we'll be able to have the freedom that we can do even more things, because some of the technologies I would love to incorporate in future years would require decent weather.
And who knows, maybe you can harness AI in a couple of years, and I don't know what can be used in that.
Right.
Add that another element.
Yeah, because instead of fighting it, we can embrace it. Absolutely. I mean, I
Could
think
be.
even in our show writing, with our script writing, none of our lines come from AI, but we did use it as a brainstorming platform where we're just like, like, give me 20 ideas on this. Actually, to be fair, I think one line did come from AI, and I asked AI to generate swear words a Christmas tree might use, and that's where we got the line
Son of a
"son of a
birch
birch."
tree?
That's hot.
Son of a birch tree.
That was deeply satisfying.
That was really cute. Okay, you got to credit ChatGPT on that one.
That was a good
Yeah,
one.
give credit where credit's due. That line was a Chat GPT line. So all the
Well, do you
rest was
foresee
just our team.
all the rest was your genuine creativity and no narration, and like the characters interacting with each other was honestly really awesome. I think in all your shows you pretty much have that going on, which is just like one of those unique elements that you really don't see in other shows, because you guys sell for Magical Light shows. You guys sell these packages that anyone can go in, you get a full package or even just the components and do this stuff at your own house. Do you foresee incorporating other elements like fireworks or flame effects or anything like that into the future, or is it we're sticking with LEDs for now?
Are you talking about my home show or packages that we sell, for clarification?
Packages.
Packages. It's interesting that you say that, because I know, like, in other states, in California, it would be an absolute no go, or at least most places in California. But across the country, there's a lot of places where you can light fireworks safely. In California, we have a very dry environment coming into the winter and holidays, where if you were to light fireworks, it's not like they're just being strict for strict sake. But even where I live, right, we were right onto the edge. Like, I couldn't do a Halloween show with fireworks because it wouldn't have rained enough to be safe where I live. And even if we have the fire department here, we're just asking for it, which we wouldn't want to do. But I know there's a lot of states that have high humidity, that have green grass all year long, where it can be safely done. And then you have, I know, like, we use the Spirit of 76 Pro line, but there's also consumer lines available that, I could see that we could actually add stuff that wouldn't be, that wouldn't cost an arm and a leg. Obviously, what we did on one night, we couldn't do. I don't think the average house would want to do every night.
That's your opening night, your opening or your closing night.
We could sell triggers, right? I think it does. We could program, like, here's, if you want to do something cool, here are the trigger points, and then then it would be up to people to do things legally and safely within their county, state, and local ordinances. And that's my only small concern. Is like we have triggers for technology, but you have to be able to do things safely, because we don't recommend doing anything that's against the law or outside of local ordinances for the sake
Absolutely
of
not.
safety.
There's so much nuance with firework laws in every single different area, different ordinance. So that's definitely a big can of worms.
In the middle of Nevada, hey, do whatever you want.
Yeah, come on out to Missouri.
There's nothing to catch on fire if it's just dirt and salt.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, no, I feel for the California pyros, but yeah, safety is key. Safety is very important. We don't want any more forest fires from fireworks.
Yeah, we get a lot of questions too, and it's kind of a funny thing. If you're asking questions, you probably shouldn't bother, because the people who know pyro, they see what we're doing, and they might say, "Hey, specifically, what did you use there?" Right? But they have a good idea of what we did already. And like, like, for example, we use Spirit of 76 Pro line, right? Like, okay, cool. Like, that's why we had like amazing saturation. I mean, the colors that we got, like, I don't think we could have got with any other line of fireworks, right? They were just absolutely gorgeous fireworks. But I don't want to be saying, hey, this is how you do it. And then I have people trying to just do it, because the people who know already know. The people who are licensed already know exactly how to do what we did.
The pro line is definitely for pro use people. There are, of course, like, I mean, I'll say there's like the baby brother of 76 Pro line, which is 76 Show Series, which is like the consumer effects that are a lot of the same types of effects, but in the consumer packages that could potentially be really good for those shows. But for this one and for your annual display, I think the Pro line looked fantastic. The items that you guys used were perfect and timed just so perfectly. And like you said, less is more. You could have put up a ton of stuff and just like totally overwhelmed the sky, overwhelmed your audience, but it was not necessary. I think, especially because it's like a holiday show. This is not This isn't, you're not doing like a world record or anything, which usually they're just like obnoxious. It's just obnoxious. And what you guys made was not obnoxious at all. It was beautiful. It was art. It was purely just like super entertaining and super fun to watch.
I mean, let's be fair though, we did have a Death Star blow up, stuff on our front
But
yard.
that
So
was for the
some people might
story.
say it's not.
Story.
It's on the line. It wasn't
You
for
gotta
the
you
sake
gotta
of
clear the
being off.
snow somehow, right?
Yeah.
Snow in the driveway, just fire up the old Death Star.
You gotta
Right.
warm up the crew.
So, I mean, yeah, so I think some people might frown on what we do, but I think it wasn't for the sake of what can we get away with. It was more like we were definitely doing stuff in artistic vision, but I would say I think we've definitely moved away from what the average person can do in front of their home.
You're really showing the best possible, what can be
Mhm.
done in the best
Right.
possible.
Yeah. Potential versus
Potential, yeah. On the fireworks side of things, I would just say also, if you're in the Christmas light, hobby or industry, and you want to learn how to do fireworks, the best thing I would recommend is just reach out to local display companies in your area and tell them you're interested and about what you do. Usually, a lot of companies, if they see someone who reaches out to them that shows interest and things like that, they'll invite you out to a fireworks shoot. And then you can work with some professionals and get some hands-on training with professionals, and then, kind of go from there as far as getting into it. It's just the fireworks trade is something that that you want to get hands-on with and work with other people that are doing it is sort of the best learning curve, I would say.
Yeah, you need a bit of a mentorship with it sometimes.
Yeah, work with some professionals and then go from there. Yeah, for sure.
And it can lead to an amazing collaboration like it has here.
Right.
Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, Tom. I know that you very busy guy during the holidays.
Yeah. But only for a few
So-
more days. Honestly, I'm about to become a normal person at the end of this week. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, I just want to congratulate you guys both on this amazing show and plug Magical Light shows. Go check out their website. Go check out Tom BetGeorge on YouTube. Go watch the full thing. It is just this joyful, spectacular, super entertaining Christmas light show. He's got a lot of other shows on there, Halloween shows that have been really, really entertaining. Doing this collaboration with you has been just incredible. Is there anything else that you would want to say for our listeners?
Well, I just want to thank 76 Pro Line and Dan Haines. We really couldn't have done any of this on any level remotely without you guys. It's one of those things where, like, yeah, we can all do cool things and good things and even great things on our own, but we can do like truly amazing stuff when we put our talents and skill sets together. There was no egos here. It was just a team of people who were like creative and wanted to do something really, really cool. And I think, we just kind of had this clean slate and we all just worked together. So I want to thank both of you because it wasn't me. It wasn't anyone on our team in particular. It was just how everyone came together and did everything we possibly could to make it as cool as possible for just that sake itself.
Yes, make something that no one's ever seen before.
Yes.
Phenomenal. Well, thank you so much. I thank you guys for listening. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.